So you guys bought a house together. So how did you? I mean, you guys are partners, like for real. You bought a house. You bought like a residential home.
We're like married at this point, yeah.
Working with neighborhood is probably one of the best experiences that I've had. Tell me a little bit about like the scale. Can you comment on the scale of the business? Like where are you guys at with it?
We were able to scale it up. It is an MRR business mainly. We obviously do have one-off work and stuff like that, but we scaled it to 6 figures a month, which is
beautiful. Which
for us was like a dream. It felt like a dream at one point, right? We were sitting in our first office that we could barely afford and just being like, man, if we could ever get to like 30,000 a month, like, whoa, this is gonna be huge, you know?
I think Los Angeles, for what we do respectively, probably would have been better.
But I think we're ahead of our time from the media perspective, and moving here for an opportunity in media, I think we're ahead of our time. I think it's gonna grow.
Welcome back to Rise Podcast, life stories of accomplished individuals. Today, we're doing things a little differently. Today, I have 2 people as guests, and the reason I do is because their stories are so tied together. So I'm going to jump into it, and here we go. So today, we have Anthony Sorella and Ernesto Gaita, founders of the 5-year-old creative agency Neighborhood Creative, a thriving creative agency in Toronto, and the hosts of the enlightening, millennial-focused Money Buys Happiness podcast. And by the way, I want to add that Neighborhood Creative are the producers of my podcast. Now, with Money Buys Happiness, by the way, this is how I know anything about millennial culture. I feel like I'm well-versed in millennial culture because of you guys and because I'm married to a millennial. Anthony Sorella, a Toronto native, initially became an entrepreneur after choosing not to pursue a university education despite a scholarship offer. And by the way, that to me is a badge of honor, of actually not going down that route. Yeah. He began his career as a nightlife promoter, immersing himself in Toronto's club scene. This experience served as a catalyst for his next venture into the music industry, where he became a DJ, creating music that resonated with the city's late-night crowd.
That's crazy.
Ernesto Gaita studied business administration and management at York University and ventured into the tech industry with 2 mobile applications post-graduation. The 2 got together to give birth to Neighborhood Creative, a creative agency that specializes in connecting brands with their target audience. Anthony and Ernesto co-host the wildly popular Money Buys Happiness podcast, a show that delves into the nuances of personal finance, entrepreneurship, and happiness. High-profile guests of MBH include Patrick Bet-David, Sophia Franklin, David Grutman, Pooh Bear, Cesar Millan, Billy McFarland, David Meltzer, and Gary Lipovetsky. I actually kind of giggle at each of those guests because I know a little bit about each of them, and some of them I have personal experience with. Anthony, Ernesto, and the Money Buys Happiness podcast combined social media audience across Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook is over 300,000 follower mark, but I think I'm wrong. I think it's more than that. Anthony, how much is it actually?
We're closer to 400K. Yeah, we might be there, but relatively.
Well, no, I mean I was off by like a solid 30%. So that's when analyzing data, that really sucks. How's it going, guys?
Good, man. Good.
So, I'm so happy to be in Miami.
You're so happy to be. I thought you were going to say you're so happy to be on this podcast.
That comes with it as well. You know,
I'll take Miami. What happened to you guys? Because you guys are in and out. I'm always. It's always a pleasure knowing that you guys are here, and I know you when you guys are here because I follow you on social media. So, when did you guys arrive?
We got here 3-4 days ago.
We've been here about 3 days now.
Yeah.
And how do you like it?
Huh.
Yeah, it feels like home every time we come back here. I mean, we spent a lot of time 2022 here. And we spent a lot of the beginning of 2023 here, been building everything pretty much here, between here and Toronto. So when we come here, it's like home. And then we come into this house. We've seen this house prior to what it is right now. And it's just amazing to see.
Well, thanks.
Killed the backyard, bro. Killed it.
Yeah, the front yard, the backyard, it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
Home ownership isn't, I think, all it's cracked up to be. Sometimes I ask myself if all this shit is worth it. But I see the smile on my wife's face and my kid's face, and it's all good. I wanna talk about, and I wanna go back to your early days, and considering this is, I'm interviewing both of you. I really want to understand how you guys got together. I mean, I read over your bios. I understand kind of beforehand. So how old are you guys right now?
I'm 30 right now.
You're 30.
Yeah.
You're older than I thought. I thought you were much younger than that.
Really?
Yeah.
I look younger?
You're just kind of immature, but in a good but not in a. I'm not. No, it's not. I'm not taking a shot at
Say
you.
it with your chest, Gary.
No, guys.
I was just hoping you'd say yes. You look younger.
No. You know, when you get to my age, being immature is like we actually strive for
Of
that.
course,
People in
of
their
course.
50s strive to be immature.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is what we want.
Yeah, I still act like I'm 23, 24.
But
Sometimes.
it's good.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. How about yourself?
I'm 27.
27. Okay.
Yeah.
So how old were you guys when you guys got together?
I was probably 25.
Yeah, so
5 years
I
ago.
I was 22, 21, 22.
I was 25. He was 22.
How did you guys meet?
So we were both
Nightclub promoters.
we were both in nightlife. Yeah.
Okay.
Doing our thing, and then we also were doing like special events, so like St. Patrick's Day, Halloween, New Year, stuff like that. And we were both bringing a couple thousand people to these events, and then we decided, hey, like, why don't we just do this together, bring double the people, and take it from there.
So individually, so I want to just like approach this individually. How did you get into nightlife promotion?
So nightlife, I got in through someone else who was older than me that I knew. They kind of just told me to come out one night, and I saw the whole experience. I felt like I had some power being able to help people get into a club, book them a table, stuff like that. So that's how I got into it. I was probably 18 or 19 years old when I started.
Okay.
And then, I took off through that. I love the networking aspect of it. I just felt like I was meeting so many new people. So that was like the part of me that was like, oh, you're doing something right. You know more people now. So I just continued doing that up until I met him.
Okay. So how did you get into
My story is a little different. I actually kind of went in like backwards. I had been just trying out a whole bunch of different businesses. Obviously, I was young. I was maybe 17, 18.
you were trying a whole bunch of businesses at 17?
Yeah, even earlier. I was trying literally anything you could think
Where'd
of.
you get that from?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think in my family, not that money was always like something that was so like wasn't an issue. Like my parents were good, very like middle class family, but I always wanted to just take care of my family. Like as growing up, that was always my mindset, even from a super young age, was just like I can't wait till like bills don't matter for my family.
But what made you believe that entrepreneurship was the path to that versus traditional education?
Well, because I'm looking at the people that are, complaining about bills and things like that. Not even necessarily my direct family, my parents, but, aunts, uncles, family, friends. All I'm hearing is people complaining about money. And the one thing I notice about all of them is they all work a 9 to 5, right? They're all somebody's employee.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, if I want to be able to help these people, I clearly can't be employed. I need to figure this out on my own, right? I did have an uncle who was an entrepreneur and did super well for himself. So he was kind of a little bit of like a guiding light for me. I kind of watched what he did. From super early, like high school, I was trying different types of businesses, selling whatever, literally anything. I would be flipping things on Kijiji. That's in Canada. That's like a pre-sale or a used site to sell things. Everything. I was doing everything. And long story short, that led me to something. So in Toronto, they have music festivals, Digital Dreams and Veld. They're like the electronic music festivals. I realized like all my friends at the time, 17, 18, were going to these festivals. And so I was like, hey, everyone loves doing this. How can I be the guy to provide them the tickets? So I did a lot of digging. I made my way and got a connection at Inc. Entertainment, which was the ones who was hosting these festivals in Toronto. Crazy. Got a loan from my friend's dad for 80 grand.
Wow.
I had 20 grand saved up on my own.
How old were you again?
I was 18 at the time.
Somebody gave you an $80,000 loan?
With like, and my pitch was like a one sheet paper.
What were you promising as a return?
I was going to give him 10% back on his money in
how long?
30 days.
Wow.
So he believed in me, and I was all nervous, and he didn't make me like sign anything over. Like I didn't put it like anything that I didn't really have assets anyways to put as collateral, but he believed in me. I had 20,000 saved up, showed up at his house. He gave me 80,000. We went to the Inc. Entertainment office, gave him $100,000 cash, which by the way, at 18 years old, I couldn't believe seeing like that much money in front of my face in cash. They gave us 650 tickets, and I sold all 650 tickets, gave him his 10%. And all of a sudden, I had this big chunk of change in my hands. And so I did that for a few years.
Sorry, I apologize. I got to stop you.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. How much did you make on that?
The first festival, I made $26,000.
After you paid back the $8 grand?
After I paid back the $8 grand. That was my profit.
Okay. And how long did it take you to do?
Well, it was less than 30 days. And majority of it happened in maybe 6-7 days, like the week before the festival. Because people are thinking about buying the tickets, thinking about buying them. And then as it comes closer to the festival, everyone wants one.
How are you able to get wholesale pricing from Inc.?
So that's where the network play comes in. I was just using Instagram and Facebook to my advantage and messaging people and figuring things out. And then I found some guys who were sort of wholesale ticket guys who weren't selling wholesale, but they were selling them a little bit cheaper. And I'm like, hey, where are you guys getting your tickets from? How are you doing this? Blah, 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 whatever. And through these guys, long story short, I was like, hey, what if I bought $100,000 worth of tickets? And they're like, dude, you're 17 or 18, like 17. Who the hell are you? And I was like, no, if I come with this much money, how many tickets and at what price? And they're like, okay, if you can make this happen somehow, this is what it's going to be. And I was like, okay. And then I kind of put my business plan together, which again was like the worst one pager ever. I'm 18. I have no idea.
That was the business plan you presented to your buddy's dad.
Correct.
Okay.
And so I went there and I knew he's very wealthy and I would always try to talk business with him. He could see I was trying to like see what was, how to get ahead in life. And he knew I was a little bit different than like the rest of the friends, his son's friends that would go over. So yeah, gave me the money. We went, got the tickets, and then super nervous, obviously, like it's a lot of money.
Sorry, do you think he did it because he cared about making $8,000 off of you? Or do you think he did it because he liked you and he saw something in you and he wanted to give you that first step as an entrepreneur, that first hit?
I want to say it was that, but knowing the
wanted to
guy
make
he
$8,000.
is, he wanted to make the money, and
okay.
he knew I would get it done. Like I was that guy.
Yeah.
He knew I was true to my word. I was very entrepreneurial, and
How'd
so
you sell him?
yeah. So I had a piece of paper, and it was the worst business plan ever. But I was kind of like, they're gonna give us the tickets at this. Let's just use numbers to speak. $100 a ticket. They're selling right now for $250. Closer to the festival, they'll go all the way up to $400 a ticket. So we're getting them for like almost 25% of the cost closer to the thing. So, I'm doing the math. I'm showing him like this many people go to the festival. This is how many people are buying online. This is how many people are buying off of, scalpers and whatnot. So if we can just undercut everybody, I'm still making over 100% profit on the tickets. Like you're 8,000, your percentage, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be quick. And so he looked at me and then he's like, all right, kid,
Where
you're
did
crazy.
Where did you actually sell these tickets? I'm intrigued.
Okay, this is the crazy part. So I sold probably 80% of them off Kijiji, and that was
Stop. You put them online?
Yeah, I went on Kijiji, and I just said, hey, tickets for this price. People thought it was obviously a scam because they were so cheap. I was selling them so much cheaper than everyone else. But then I'd meet them all in person. So I think I did like the week leading up to the festival, I was doing maybe 16 to 18-hour days driving around GTA, Brampton, Scarborough. I'd go all the way to Barrie. Like it didn't matter for one ticket just because I needed to make sure it got done. So I never actually worked in my gas costs and the kilometers on the car, but that's still profitable. And it was pretty crazy. And I remember going home and showing my dad like all that money it was in a duffel bag. And he's like, dude, what are you selling? Like, are you selling drugs? Like, this is crazy. And so I did that, and I did it for a few more festivals. Made a lot of money, and then one year, both festivals had a cancellation, 1-day cancellation. So I had the option, everyone hounding me back for refunds. And then I kind of had the option to say, okay, I either say, screw all these people and ruin my reputation, or I refund everybody. And I refunded everybody because I wanted to keep a good reputation if I ever decide to do another business, which I knew I was going to do. And so I refunded everybody and basically lost all my profit over 3 years after refunding everything. And
didn't Inc. If they're the ones who canceled it?
Because I bought through them like cash. There was never like a contract. It wasn't like through like the website or anything.
There were no refunds.
I didn't get a refund, but I refunded everybody.
I understand.
Long story short. And I lost everything. And then based off of that, obviously now I'm in this like, it's not nightlife, but it's hospitality. It's the music industry and all that stuff.
What a lesson, right? Like you did that you just made a statement that you wiped out 3 years worth of profits in one thing. And the thing is that it wasn't even a mistake that you made.
No.
It wasn't like an operational error. It wasn't like anything that you did wrong. But it's an interesting lesson. I'm all about like extracting lessons from my guests.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting lesson because, in business, there's so many things that we can't control.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm constantly thinking it's this balance between you want to be positive. We all know to be positive, right? I mean, that's very ingrained in society right now with entrepreneurs. We all know to be positive, but you got to also be a little negative to be like, oh shit, like what if this happens? Because no one would have thought that would happen.
I had no...
A concert at that scale, you would never think would cancel.
Yeah, and two of them in the same year, like in the same summer, like 1 or 2 months apart. So that was crazy. And I learned a big lesson, but it was another lesson in the sense of like, I can either screw these people over and not refund, but I can never sell to them again. Or I take my L. What I did for the last 3 years, I lose monetary.
Yeah.
But my reputation now is actually boosted because now they trust me even more, right? No, and because everyone who bought off me knew I didn't have to refund them, right? Because they knew they bought off a third party. Like when all the festivals released a statement, they said, we'll refund you, but if you bought off a third party, it's up to like it's not on us.
You know what the story's reminding me of? Billy McFarland.
Yeah, kind of.
He didn't refund anybody, though, right?
Well, because he didn't even have the money, spent it all. But so I refunded them. Long story short, then that was my intro to the nightlife because obviously it was kind of a easy transition. Now I was like, okay, all these people that I sold tickets to, they all want to go out, they all want to do whatever, go to the clubs, this and that. So then I was like, okay, well, if I could make these connections at that scale, I could go to a club and figure out how to get paid to bring people.
Right.
And so that's pretty much what I did.
I don't want these conversations necessarily, especially the ones with you guys, to be about this, like, whole, like, not that I don't want it to be about scrappy entrepreneurialism. I do, because that's what you guys are. I don't want it to be this political, like, should people go get an education and formal education, this and that. But one thing I will say, and I want you guys, and this is like, hey, look, it's like a compliment to you, but I want you to get all like weird about it. Like, but I would rather, you guys know I have 3 little boys, right? Like 10, 9, and 5. I would rather my boys hang out with guys like you than these like super like duper, and not to knock those people too, because I have a lot of like educated, like formally educated friends and professionals and stuff, and they're my people too. I love you guys too, but I want my kids to hang out with dudes like you, because that's like the real shit, and that's the shit that gets done. Like, that story is really inspiring to me, and I want my kids to hear that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. So Ernesto, like, tell me. I mean, that was a good story. So, like, I don't know if you guys like compete on like who's got the best story, but that was a pretty good fucking story. So tell me, okay, so you went to school, you went the formal education route.
Yeah, I went to.
What did you?
I got a scholarship first to a university in North Carolina. It was called Gardner Webb.
Okay.
It was Division I. So I got a scholarship for soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So I went there for a year, and I didn't really like being away from home. So I decided to come home. And then I was gonna work for a year at my grandfather's shop. He has like a machine shop. So I went there to work for a year. Hated that.
Yeah.
And then I went back to school to Ryerson for engineering. Hated that. Left Ryerson and then went to York. Finished with business administration. But during that time,
like an undergrad degree.
Yeah.
Like what is it? A BBA or something?
I think so.
Something like that.
I don't even.
Yeah. Who cares?
I don't even know what it's called. But during that time, I was promoting, but I also had the app. So I had a mobile app called Booth and Bottle.
Okay.
And that was supposed to be the first app that you can book guest list and bottle service for Toronto.
Yeah.
So I would leave class and then go downtown with my knapsack and go to all these clubs and walk in daytime or evening and just say like, hey, where's the owner? Where's the manager? And I would try and talk them into it to be on the app. And then, so I had that app. That app ended up being Jukebox, which was kind of like a play on more than just nightlife. You could get concert tickets, escape room tickets, all that sort of stuff. And then we got signed by IBM to their incubator center, downtown Toronto. So I was there for a year. That app didn't ended up working out just because the partnership that I had with my partners just kind of fell through. Yeah. It was a partnership with like my 4 best friends at the time. So it got really sticky.
Good, another lesson.
Another lesson, right? Yeah. And then after that, I
sorry, I apologize. I want to jump in. Not that you shouldn't do business with your friends, because I don't think that's the correct thing.
No,
I think that you should, and let me know if you agree with the statement. It's not about whether you should do business with your friends. It's not letting your friendship cloud your decision whether you think they'll be a good business partner.
Exactly, right?
So just because they're your friend doesn't mean they'll be a good business partner.
So that's what we thought at the beginning, right? We're all friends.
I made the same mistake early on,
of course, right? You're thinking at the beginning you're all friends, so what's the worst that can happen, right? But at the end of the day, like you have to have hard conversations with those friends when you're in business, right? Yeah. So I learned a lot at an early age about, telling people straight up without worrying about, what they felt in a business sense, right? So that app didn't work out, and then I kind of just went back to nightlife, and I went much harder in nightlife.
But that app is how we met, though.
That's how we met.
So, okay, tell me the story. How'd you guys
meet? The app
is
how we met. So I had another business partner at the time when I went into nightlife, who I was doing these events with and stuff like that. And, we were always trying to be different, trying to figure out how to be like more modern and progressive in the nightlife industry, which is pretty hard from a promoter perspective. Like, so when we were doing, like he said, our special events, bringing a couple thousand people to all these different parties, Ernesto reached out to us. And said, hey, I have this ticketing platform. Why don't you guys use it for your events?
So I had a ticketing platform like Eventbrite. It was called X Tickets, and that was
Yeah.
supporting Jukebox.
Okay.
So I would go to events, say I'll do your tickets, but I'll also place you on this app.
In your current businesses, are you more on the tech side?
No, I had a tech partner.
I see.
So I was kind of just being the face of it and putting it out there while the tech was doing all the work in the back end.
Okay.
So yeah, he said, hey, use this ticketing app. The processing fee will kick you back. I said, yeah, sounds good. Like we're using Eventbrite or any of these other things. They're just taking the processing fee and we're getting nothing from it. So I'm like, I started doing the math. Okay, 3,000 people, 50 cents a person. Oh, it's an extra $1,500. Yeah, done. We'll do it. So at the time he had this funny little office. It was like maybe
This
what?
funny little office.
So you're aware of Toronto's areas, obviously.
Yeah,
I was at Dufferin and Eglinton. So like
Dufferin and
it was
yeah,
a
yeah,
tough
I know.
area, you know?
Yeah.
I had something, maybe it was about 400 square feet.
Maybe like 350.
Maybe 350. I was paying
Yeah.
like $500-600 a month for it.
So I had an office. I had a company called Menu Palace way back before when you guys were still tiny.
Yeah.
You probably weren't even around, but no, you weren't around. Wow. Oh shit. Okay. So I had this little office. It maybe 250 square feet. And
Yeah.
if it was above a $5 all you can eat Chinese buffet.
There you
Oh
go. I
my
think mine was similar on top
Yeah,
of something like that. Mine was
that's
on
amazing.
Onto an alley. Every day it was a new smell. Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, yours was onto an alley too,
Yep,
actually.
Yep.
And so yeah, he invites me there, and whatever, we kind of get to talking. He used the app, cool. But hey, you're doing an event on St. Patrick's, so are we. How many people are you bringing? Well, we have about 2,000 tickets sold. Yeah, so do we. And then that was kind of like, hey, why don't we just merge them?
Mm-hmm.
And we do a couple events, and obviously, like building up an event, you're planning, you have to do all this planning for it and things like that. And it just became a thing where we're like, hey, we work really well together. Like we have the same vision. We agree on a lot of things. The things we don't agree on, we're having like really good conversation to like figure out what's the best.
Mhm.
So I'm like, dude, this is
Was it like that moment in the movie Step Brothers when they decided that there was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that?
honestly.
You know the one I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
it's like, are we gonna be best
They just
friends?
become best
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of So it's interesting because we became friends through business,
Yeah.
but it was business first, right? And we just knew it was both beneficial, and so we were kind of in that place. Let's work together. And then I've told this a few times, but Neighborhood basically was birthed through that.
Yeah. I was gonna ask.
Yeah. So essentially, the easiest way to explain it was I'd be going to his office almost every day now, this little office, which by the way, I love. When I say like this little dinky office, but it was the best place ever.
Absolutely,
Like
yeah.
I felt so professional in there. Cause again, me coming from never being in that environment, I just love that he had an office. I was like, dude, I'm going to be there every day to work. And so I'd go there every day, and every day this guy'd be getting, 3, 4, sometimes 10 calls a day. Hey man, do you know a videographer? I need it for this. Hey, do you know a web designer? Hey, do you know a graphic designer? Do you know this? Do you know who can get me this? Who can get me that? And all like generally marketing related stuff. There'd be some people who are like, hey, do you know someone I can get tires from? And he'd know somebody too. But it was very like marketing related.
Yeah.
And so maybe after a month of seeing this, I'm like, dude, are you getting like a commission, like a finder's fee for everybody that you're like, are guys giving you like referral fees and stuff for all this? And he's like, no, dude, just like whatever. I'm just trying to help people, and like hopefully they'll come out to the club with me, and that's where I can like make my money back or whatever, my referral fee. And I was like, no, dude, that's changing today. And he's like, what are you talking about? And that's pretty much the birth of Neighborhood. I was like, dude, even if we're just middlemaning all of these referrals. And so we're like, okay, let's start an agency, even though we have our marketing experience is like, how do we get people to the club?
Right.
Or how do we get them to buy a ticket for our special event? There's no really marketing experience in between that. No formal school or anything.
Yeah, but you guys didn't really have, and I mean, it's cool that you didn't, or maybe you did. Like, you didn't have really formal experience in marketing, branding.
No, nothing.
None of that, right?
Nothing.
So we
what
just do
made
it for ourselves at that point, right? Like if we branded an event, or even social media wise, if how we were running our socials, that's all we knew.
What did you start with? You started with video production, or you started with like logo design, graphic design?
So when we launched, we were like, hey, our main things were like branding, content creation, and social media and web design. Those are like our 4 pillars. But majority of the business came from social media management and content creation. We kind of like put them together because they go hand in hand. And the way that we got our first clients straight up was going into restaurants and places that we were going to regularly every weekend. And this is funny. This is 2019, by the way. And we had to convince people restaurants in 2019, we had to convince them to get social media. Yeah. They're like, we don't need this. I'm like, are you guys, can I swear?
Yeah.
Are you guys fucking insane? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't think you need social media? And so a lot of our first clients were either we did it for free for a certain amount of time to prove to them that they need it,
Yeah.
or it was like a $300 a month retainer.
Yeah.
And in between doing that, still promoting to pay the bills, because we ended up getting an office because we thought we needed an office to be professional. Like, for people to take us seriously, we needed an office. So we signed a lease for like $5,000 a month. We had 0 clients, but we were still promoting. So the promoting money was paying for the lease and any of the little business expenses that we had. It wasn't too many, while we were going out and trying to prove that, hey, we're not just promoters, we're marketers too. And
Right.
so that was a battle.
You know, I have a similar story, but like a full generation internet-wise
Okay.
prior. So my
Okay.
company, which was called Menu Palace, I started in late 1999 with a partner. And in 2000, I was doing all the sales, right? So I was running around meeting with restaurant owners when they actually showed up to the meetings that they booked.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was explaining to them that they need to have their menus on the internet. They thought I was a lunatic.
Crazy. Like,
They thought I was nuts.
Crazy.
You guys are already at social media. You guys,
Yeah.
okay, we need internet.
Yeah.
But that particular cohort of entrepreneurs, maybe it's just in Canada, because I think they're much more advanced down here.
yes.
I know a lot of prominent restaurateurs here, and they're not like that. But up in Canada, they'd fight it every step of the way. You need to be on the internet. Nah, nobody can taste my food on the internet. That's what I would hear.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
what they would literally say.
Yeah,
to
it's
me.
crazy.
Nuts.
So we had that same experience on top of, like, correct me if I'm wrong, being like, but you guys are chugging bottles every weekend. So like, why do I even trust you to do this? You
We
know?
were
So-
very prominent on socials, like with the club stuff, right? So
So it's a bit of a contradiction.
it was tough because like
huge
we would go out on
contradiction.
a Saturday night and then Monday we're having these Zoom calls or these calls with people and saying like, hey, like this is what you need to do for your business and this and that, and they're like,
Were you just drunk a couple of
well,
hours?
yeah,
ago?
Yeah,
like, you
literally.
literally finished 3
Literally.
bottles on
Right.
on
Yeah,
your
yeah.
story, right? So that was tough, like kind of proving to people. But again, you kind of at the beginning of it, you got to go to people that you've already established trust with, you know. So you have that leeway a little bit,
Sure.
right, where you can convince them. And I think a lot of people at that time, to be honest, just thought that we were cool. Like what we were doing was cool. So they wanted to attach themselves to that in a way. But yeah, it was tough. We had to convince some, looking back now, we had to convince restaurants that their food needed to be on socials, which is
Right.
crazy now. That I
in
look back.
2019, like,
Yeah, that
think
wasn't
about that.
long
That
ago.
wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah.
So I can tell you a lot of the problem is Canada. And and because
Please tell me.
No, I'll tell you why. Because
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
actually somebody who used to work for me who became a good friend of mine. His name is Paul. He lived in Australia for a little while. So after him and I worked together, he worked for me for various companies that I had. He eventually moved to Australia, and in Australia, he was working for like a company that was doing millions of dollars a year in social media management for restaurants. And he would go in and sell them packages for, I don't think it was high. I think it was maybe like $1,000 a month plus.
Yeah.
But these guys were doing massive scale. Like they had infrastructure to manage social media for restaurants. Like they had proper infrastructure that allowed them to scale, and they had thousands of clients. So this was all MRR, the like monthly recurring revenue. So they were actually getting almost like SaaS valuations, not quite SaaS valuations, like 10, 12x in its prime, but they were getting like 4 or 5x valuations when these companies were trading hands. So I think you guys had the right, it was the right instinct. I just think honestly, I think it's the Canadian market.
Yeah, I agree.
It really is.
It is.
Because even OpenTable, which eventually that whole Menu Palace business of mine, that went away because I used the infrastructure from that to create a daily deal site and competed with Groupon, and it kind of got rolled up. But if that wouldn't have happened, I think it would have gone to zero, because then OpenTable came along and they just had this beautiful tech, which they still do, obviously.
Yes.
And that killed us. But so I think your instincts were right.
Yeah,
in that.
you're right. It was definitely the market didn't help us. Canada we're so behind America by a
But
mile.
you don't know how far, and again, I don't want this to be like a Canada bashing episode, but Canada, I feel like, and I discovered now because I've been living here almost 3 years, you don't really know how far behind Canada is, just like, until you leave for a long period of time.
Miles behind.
Yeah.
Like miles, light years behind. And
But
again,
they're ahead in other industries.
listen, and it's not.
I'm
it's
just
again,
not in those industries.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's-
neither were
it's-
we, right?
So yeah, it's not about a bashing thing. It's just the reality of it is that they're just so far behind. So we definitely see that. And once we kind of made the jump here, a couple of years later, we really realized that. We said, okay,
Talk to me about scaling neighborhood.
yeah,
So you have your family involved. Your sisters here,
yeah. My sister's here,
which
yeah.
is actually my kind of high level point of contact.
Yes.
For the production of this podcast. how did you bring your families into this? Because your sister is with you guys too, no?
Yeah, she's been with us from the start.
Yeah.
How did they get you in on this?
No, well, we
Okay,
can explain
alright,
this.
alright. Yeah, I mean,
well,
we
explain Anna, because Anna coming is a pretty funny story.
So when we decided that we were going to do an agency, we actually were working in my basement for about a year on a business plan
For the agency.
for the agency.
which we never used, by the way. the
we never
business
used
plan.
it. It was just kind of like
What
peace
was
of
the
mind.
business plan for yourself or for investors?
It was for
us.
For us, yeah. Just to understand the business that we were gonna create,
Good for you.
and explain it to others that we wanted to bring on or anything like that. And yeah, at the beginning, we decided to bring on Anna, kind of to help us with administrative stuff, but also website was
Yeah.
huge at that point. She was really good at website and overseeing website and creating websites. So we brought her in. She was in Italy when I called her, right?
Yeah. So we're this is the story. We're in his basement, okay, putting together this plan, like I said, for almost a year that like we probably don't even use 95% of it because we don't even really know the business that well, right?
Were you operating at the same time you were making this plan?
No. We didn't officially launch yet.
So we were like trying to come up with this crazy plan that we are going to launch with, which again, we never really used. But anyways, when we're pretty much right at the end of like thinking that, hey, this is the business plan. This is what's going to get us there. He's like, okay, I want to bring my sister in, whatever, blah, blah. I said, yeah, dude, no problem. Let's do it. So he just like, okay, picks up the phone, calls her. She's in Italy, 6 hours ahead. It's probably like nighttime. He's like, hey, Anna, so listen, I'm with Sorella. She has no idea who I am. I'm with Sorella, my buddy Sorella. Yeah, listen, so we're starting a social media agency. You're going to be a partner, and this is what you're going to do. She's like, what are you talking about? Yeah. He's like, yeah, don't worry. I'm just telling you. This is what it's going to be, and this is what you're going to do. She's like, oh, okay. Hangs up the phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, here it is. And then she ended up moving back to Toronto, and then we formally met.
She moved back to Toronto for this opportunity.
Yeah.
So she had more of a corporate background, I would say, and she did her MBA as well. So we thought she brought something to the table that me and him didn't have as well, right? And to this day, she still has that value.
It's good to bring in smart people. I do that too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You need them, right?
You know
can't
what?
just have
You
a bunch
really,
of schmucks, you know?
really do.
Yeah.
You really do.
So-
I'm definitely on the schmuck side.
Yeah, us as well, right? So she came in and we were so grateful that she was that interested that quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. So she believed in the vision and stuck it
shit,
through with
really?
us.
I have a phone on me? Guys, it's my kid's school. Give me a second.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
keep rolling. This is good.
Yeah.
Hello? Hey, son.
That's what it's like to be a dad.
She did respond, yes, Shai can sleep over tonight. Yes, yeah, very excited. Okay, she's going to drop off some pajamas for him or something. I love you too. Okay, bye, son. Sorry, guys. That's the
amazing.
thing. You know, that's the thing. When you become a dad, even if you're on a podcast, you have to
gotta
keep
answer.
your phone on.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know, like,
The son, man.
No, I
It's your
love
son.
it.
you know,
love it.
Of course.
it's
I love
one
it.
of three. He wanted his friend to come and sleep over tonight. It was like a big deal. So he
Yeah.
called
Yeah.
me from school. I get a call from the school every day
Yeah.
from one of them about something. You know, something, I forgot this. Can you
Yeah.
bring me this? Anyways, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Yes, please continue.
So yeah, Anna came on and yeah, put up with a lot of our BS at the beginning for sure, especially two schmucks running around just trying to figure it out realistically. And then yeah, the business started scaling, it started growing.
Sorry, I have another question.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Yeah, please.
That's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not.
I notice a lot of my guests, like you guys, like people who I interview, they just talk about it like, oh, it's not a big deal. How are you able to convince an MBA? I know she's your sister,
Yeah.
but let's back that out for a second.
Yeah.
You have to convince her. You guys are two guys in a basement with this elaborate plan, but you haven't actually done shit.
Nothing.
This is a woman who's living in how she's your older sister, younger
Yeah,
sister?
she's 2 years older than me.
Okay, so this is an adult, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
she's living in Italy. I mean, I know
That's a great job. Yeah.
she had a job too.
Yeah,
She had a job as well.
She had a job in Italy. She's living in. I mean, Italy's.
She was in Rome.
I unfortunately haven't been to Italy yet, but I heard great things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's in Italy. She's in Rome. She has a job. She has everything. And her kid brother calls her and says, "Hey, listen, you know what? Come and do this thing." She goes, "Oh, what is it?" Well, it's a plan. I have a plan.
That's
I've
all
been
we
sitting
had.
working on. You want to? So how did you convince her to do that?
So I
how did
think-
she entrust you with her career?
I think she always trusted me in terms of that I was doing the right things for my own career. Like she looked at me and said, you know what, maybe this guy's not doing things the traditional way,
Right.
but I see him growing in certain ways. And to be honest too, like I was making a lot of money promoting, right? And she knew that. So I kind of gave her the spiel and I was like, hey, Anna, listen, we're going to do this, number one, with or without you, right? Number two, we're going to make a lot of money and you're going to have to trust me, you know? And she did do that. She did trust me. And that was the biggest part of it. And like I said, I think she saw how hard I was working, even though she was away. She saw all the different things that I had going on, the apps, everything. She saw that I was just an entrepreneur at heart. So I said, come on the ride. You know, I know you're in Italy doing your thing, but we could really use your help. And I think you're going to be integral to us growing because you have this value that we don't have. And I think it was just about trust at that point.
How'd you convince Natasha, who's sitting over here?
Yeah, Natasha was a little bit of a difference. So she entered into the business a little later, maybe 2.5, 3 years in. So we're a little more established. But she had a job, a whole other corporate job going on, and we were getting to a point of growth where we needed another high level person involved in the business, not just like another employee. And again, you're looking at two guys who are leading this company who, not that we didn't have the best reputation, but like we're still promoters. And we were at a point where it's like, no, we can just go and get any crazy MBA, someone with a PhD to come in with all this crazy experience. So we were always scared to like, how do we find another person who can operate at our level of the business, and that we trust, and also be able to pay them enough. And, just a lot of months going by and just not really having an idea. And then actually it was Ernesto. Ernesto said, hey, what about your sister? And I was hesitant at the beginning. Because I was just nervous about it, bringing her in.
You're working with family?
Yeah, not necessarily working with the family. It's just, we both are. Me and him are very mean when it comes to business. When there's something we don't like, we don't know how to say it nicely. It's because we're very passionate about the company. So when it's like something important, and like I just know it can be hard to have those mean conversations with family, especially over business. And so that was really my biggest fear. But at the same time,
Bro, I get you. I work with my wife, right?
Yeah, no, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. So that was the biggest thing in my head. But at the end of the day, like, she's the hardest worker ever. Like, she works 10 times harder than me, straight up. I work smarter, but she works harder.
How are you able to tell me that story? How were you able to convince her?
So a couple of weeks of him being like, dude, talk to your sister. Me kind of like putting it off, like still thinking about it, like whatever, if it's the right move. And then finally he's like, dude, if you don't fucking talk to her, like I'm going to do it. Then I'm like, okay, all right, well, then I really have no choice. And then I said, hey, do you want to join the business? Leave what you're doing, come work with us, see if you like it. And then if you like it, there's an opportunity for like ownership as well. Because at the same time, again, like as we want to continue expanding the growth of the business and the umbrella as a whole of everything we're building, we're going to have to kind of step away in certain areas of the business, not completely, but certain areas. And then it becomes a thing of, well, who can you trust?
Sure.
So this is where the weird thing about like family and business that I don't agree with. The general thing is never do business with family. Right? Everyone always says that. Majority of people said that. Me too. Me too. And I saw them. I saw Ernesto and his sister doing it, Ernesto and Anna. And then when we brought Natasha in, it was like a clear indication that that's the worst. I don't believe that saying at all. Sure. I think it's, if you love and you're so passionate about a company and it's like you treat it like a child, well, who would I trust with my child? My sister. So why wouldn't I trust my business, with my sister? And yeah, sure enough, she came in like a workhorse, never questioned anything, took a very like backseat role at the beginning, was not, trying to come in with any ego, was always willing to learn and just kind of ask us questions and whatever. And then she took over and now she's the boss.
I don't want to make it sound like I'm pitching you guys. Mm-hmm. Although I do refer you guys to as many like relevant people as I can.
You do.
But I have to say, like, I've been in business for 25 years. Mm-hmm. 25 years. I've been in some type of business one way or another. Various businesses. Mostly to do with online media. And I have to tell you, and again, I'm not saying it just to like flatter you guys, but working with Neighborhood, it sounds like a commercial. Working with Neighborhood is probably one of the best experiences that I've had. It's like amazing. The responsiveness, the level of organization, and I work with Natasha and I work with Dan as well. So yeah, you guys are always great to work with. So tell me a little bit about like the scale. Can you comment on the scale of the business? Like where are you guys at with it?
Yeah, you want to go? You want me to go?
However way you want to define it.
Yeah. Like right now, like where we're at?
Yeah, like how many, like how large is the company? How many people do you have, let's say?
Yeah. I mean, maybe what? Neighborhood's at 15, 20 employees. Between employees and subcontractors, probably closer to 20. Mm-hmm. And then we have Natasha, obviously. She's the boss. Anna's the boss as well.
It's a similar operation as mine, like similar size.
Very similar. And then, we kind of just look at the business on a week-to-week basis and see the voids that we need to fill, see the opportunities there are for new services, new things that we can offer our clients. But I would say the biggest part right now is just customer care, which you kind of touched on, right? Which I think is the most important aspect of it, and continuing to market neighborhood as its own brand.
You also, I mean, I don't know, and again, I don't know if it's fair to say that everybody gets this. I'm sure everybody does great, but you gave me Natasha. Like, it's not like you didn't give me like a low level junior.
Well,
person.
of course. Well, we know what each client needs, right?
Yeah.
We spend our time saying, okay, what's this client going to need, and what kind of attention and love is this client going to need? Because everyone's different, and then we game plan based on that. So every client that we have, they all get different kind of treatment.
Yeah.
It's very custom. There's not like
depending on their needs.
Depending on their needs,
the level of service they require.
There's definitely not like a one size fits all service that we have.
Sure.
So yeah, like you were our first client in Miami, for example.
Okay.
And I
didn't know that.
We weren't even scared about that though,
Why
because
would
we're
you
just like, oh, okay, let's use our resources and let's make this happen.
I think what was new for you guys was subcontracting out of country.
Correct.
Which was fine, but
But
again,
I'll tell
we
you-
like the challenge, right?
But I'll tell you,
Yeah.
you guys, because it's good to talk about this,
Of
right?
course.
Yeah.
To give you honest feedback,
Yeah.
you guys did really well with it.
Yeah.
There were a couple of kind of misses with
Yeah.
the subcontractors,
Yeah.
but what you guys did was you were so reactive to it.
Yes.
Not reactive, responsive.
Yeah, yeah.
Responsive is the correct word.
Yeah.
You were so responsive to it that's the key, because I understand, having done like something similar, being in similar businesses to you guys, where, certain things that are out of my control when I'm dealing with contractors. But the key is to be responsive. The key is to is to fix it. And you guys,
Yeah.
and
That's
You got to problem
kind of
solve as soon as possible.
yeah, absolutely.
that's
right?
kind of our role now in terms of like what me and Ernesto, like where our main
You're
focus of the
firefighters.
business is that's it. We want to help them problem solve from the
Sure.
highest level.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
little things, the little tiny day-to-day kind of, we have our team in place for that. But when it comes to the bigger stuff, like figuring out subcontractors or just anything, like any of those bigger aspects of the business, that's where we kind of really try to like come back in, because we were firefighting everything at the beginning, right? Like left, right, and center. But in terms of the scale of the business, we were able to scale it up. It is an MRR business mainly. We obviously do have one-off work and stuff like that, but we scaled it to 6 figures a month,
Beautiful.
which for us was like a dream. It felt like a dream at one point, right? We were sitting in our first office that we could barely afford and just being like, man, if we could ever get to, I remember saying like, man, if we could ever get to like 30,000 a month, like, whoa, this is going to be huge, you know? And then, yeah, it just, COVID was a weird time. We lost a lot of business, but it rebounded super quick. And because the online world just kind of blew up after that, even bigger than it was. And yeah, once we kind of got to that mark, that was a big achievement for us. Not that we're the kind of people that we don't celebrate anything, which probably isn't the best way
I
to
agree.
operate.
I'm the same way, and I think we should. I think as entrepreneurs,
We're learning that. We're learning that slowly to start
hard.
celebrating.
It's hard. Yeah.
Because you always want more,
Yeah.
right? So when we started hitting these goals that we had set, a year or 2 years ago, for us, it was not that we didn't want to celebrate, but in our heads, we're like, well, we're working so hard. We knew that was going to happen already. So when it happens, you're like, yeah, I
that's
knew
what's
this was going to
supposed to
happen 2
happen.
years ago. So like, what am I celebrating for? Because I can already see the next one. But we scaled it up to that point, and it's been awesome. Like, it's been so cool to just say that we were able to do this in a business that we had no prior knowledge or experience in. We never brought in really any partners or strategic partners to help us build it. We literally did it with our family, which was like one of the coolest things.
Talk to me about the evolution or the move to the podcast, MBH.
Yeah. So
How did that happen?
the pandemic hits in Canada, and me and him are in the office, and he's kind of like, yo, I think we should start a podcast. And we both knew that with the pandemic, everyone was just going to be on their phones the whole time, right? So we knew we lost half our clients from neighborhood because obviously,
A lot of them are brick and mortar.
everyone's locked
businesses.
down. What's the point of
Yes.
having social media, right? I didn't believe in that, but a lot of the clients, obviously, they cut their budget right away. And we just thought, okay, we need to stay as relevant as possible during this time. We can't go away. We need to stay on top of people's minds. And then, he came to me, said, let's start a pod. I think it'll be fun. We were already having like long conversations in the office with a lot of our clients, friends, and leaving those conversations saying like, hey, that could have been like a pod itself, right?
How did you ideate the name and the brand?
We were in the office.
Because I really like it, by the way. It's intriguing.
Yeah.
And it's descriptive at the same time.
It's
So it
controversial.
brings people. It's controversial, yeah.
Yeah. We were in the office, and I think me and you were just spitballing back and forth, and we came up with it. We came up with Money Buys Happiness. And I remember we called my sister first to let her know, right?
Yeah.
Called Anna, and she's like, no, I hate that name. It's like, everyone's going to hate that name. And not to throw shade on Anna, she just didn't understand what we were thinking about it at the time, right? I was thinking more like, oh, like this is something that's going to like really make people curious, because you just hear a lot of money doesn't buy happiness at that time. That was like the main phrase.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, all right, well, at least if we have a controversial name, that'll get us in the door somehow.
Yeah.
It's
Right? Or
triggering.
get people thinking, right?
It's a triggering name. People read there and they're like, what? Who are these guys? What is this?
You can't say that.
You can't say that,
right?
And so that was the main premise behind the brand, to be honest, was that. And then obviously like money, we're talking about business, things like that. So it kind of just fit.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we called Anna, and then actually we had like some of our employees at the time, we were asking them too, and they're all like, no. Not one person said do it.
Yeah.
And that was where we were like,
Oh, so we're gonna
okay,
do
perfect.
it.
This is the right name, because we're getting the exact reaction we want.
Yeah.
Like that's a bad idea. No, people are gonna think this, think that. And we're like, that's what we wanted to hear. So it worked out perfect. And then we kind of
So in a few years, you guys have gotten meaningful scale. Talk to me about the early days where, you know, you put something up and you put so much effort into it, because I think this is important for everybody who's considering being on social media, whether they're that, like, you know, kind of as their main thing, or whether they have a business that they, you know, want to do this kind of form of marketing for. You know, talk to me about, I mean, I'm pretty familiar with it, but talk to me about the, you know, those initial days where you put so much effort into a piece of content, whether it's long form, short form, you put it up and it's crickets. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you got your 10
no
views,
one cares.
20, 50 views. Like, how do you mentally deal with that?
Yeah, I think our goal at the beginning was just to create more content. So in terms of views, we weren't really even looking at them. And we didn't, this was 3 years ago. So we weren't really even looking at other pods. I wasn't,
No.
at least, and comparing us to other podcasts. I wasn't even doing that yet. I was just like, okay, let's have a conversation. Let's make more content for our socials, and let's actually network with someone new and meet someone new. We didn't have any plans to get to a certain amount of views, get to a certain amount of subscribers. So I think when we started, we were actually super grateful and super humble for anyone watching, because we didn't expect anything at the beginning. I think the difference now is that a lot of people go into their podcast and they already have crazy expectations because of what they see online already.
Sure. Well, they
right?
see people at scale.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? So there was no goal at the beginning to have 100,000 subscribers or to have an episode that hits 1 million. We were just having fun with it. And every conversation we would leave, we were now friends with this guest. And that was like more than enough for us. We're like, oh, this is like a new person. They have their own businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can work together in some sort of way. So we were looking at it more as complementary to neighborhood.
Well, that worked. That's exactly how things went down with us.
Exactly. Right.
That's what it was. Yeah.
So we were looking at it that way, where it's like, okay, this could be complementary towards neighborhood. And we were like one of the only podcasts that I really knew of at that time. Obviously, there's the huge ones, but ones of just like a couple guys talking or a couple nobodies at that time, right? So a lot of people were super interested to come on because we were providing them with cool content, a whole interview about them. And you know, people love to talk about themselves, right? So yeah, I think the beginning was super fun, and we didn't really have any goals to hit. We were just like, how many people can we talk to? That was more the goal. Like, how can we get a better guest? And by better guest, it was kind of just like not for views, more so like, who do we want to meet?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we looked at it that way.
Yeah.
But then also,
yeah.
like, I think the good point is, like, there was no comparison. We didn't compare ourselves to anybody.
Yeah.
Didn't matter, like, big, small. We just did it. And whatever went up and whatever views it got. Like, we weren't even thinking.
I don't even think we were really looking at
it.
the views.
It was a point where we were like, whoa, 50 views. That's amazing.
Do you guys get stopped sometimes and be like, hey, people doing that?
All the
of course.
time.
Yeah,
all the time now. All the time, which is, that part's crazy. But I think, like, the interesting point, and we kind of figured this out together, was like, wait a minute, this thing just got 60 views. Okay. We could cry about it that it's not 5,000, but at the same time, we're like, hey, if we were in this room right now talking in front of 60 people, we'd be nervous. We'd be nervous to have that conversation.
60 people were there.
People don't quantify that because people are seeing these massive numbers and they don't understand. Like, even my videos right now are getting like between 1,500 and 5,000 views.
Yeah.
Like these
Which is great,
these
though.
videos,
Which is
I mean,
great.
which is great.
Of course.
But I'm cheating a little, right?
Yeah.
Because like Valeria's promoting them for me. But
Sure.
but nonetheless, I mean, yeah, when you quantify that and you say, shit, like, you know, X amount of like 2,000 people, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
I think when you look at it now,
That's
like
a lot
in
of
society now, people are very insensitive to those numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
right? Like 10,000 views is nothing. That means nothing to someone nowadays, right? Because you see it on all these platforms. You see it on Instagram, TikTok, millions of views, this, that.
But you know, like statistically, like these any videos, let's say on YouTube, or when you look at influencers at scale with
Yeah.
a couple of 100,000 followers or 1 million followers, like these are like the top like half a percentile.
Yes.
You know that
Yeah.
that right? Like people don't understand that for every video, like let's say for every reel on Instagram as an example that gets 1 million views, there's probably like 2 million that are getting under 100 views
Yes.
Yes.
or under 1,000 views.
Yes.
But people don't understand that
Yeah.
Of course.
because they don't see that. It's not as visible.
Right. And I think now, obviously, we look now years later, and yeah, we're insensitive to some numbers too. It happens sometimes. But at that point in our life, like we were not. So if we were getting 50 likes, we were counting those likes, you know, like we were like, damn, that's really cool. Let's try to get 51 next time. Or even if we don't, who cares? Right.
How are you guys finding operationally between it's the two projects that you're working on, the podcast and neighborhood, right? Is there something else?
So we have the network, which is MBH TV, which
That's something new.
that's something last couple months that we just launched. And that's where Money Buys Happiness, the podcast itself, falls under that umbrella. But yeah, we just with the network itself, we just figured that we have learned so much in the podcast world with the marketing as well, that we can help people scale and also look at talent and say like, hey, we can help blow you up as well, right? To a certain extent, right? But
So you're taking talent on as well
yes,
to help blow them up. Okay.
yeah. Right now, I think we're at close to 10 talents under the network, and I would say 4 to 5 shows.
And that's talent. They're not paying you. These are people you're developing and taking a piece of their.
Exactly, right? So it's either that we own the show completely and we sign people as talent for the show, or we go into business with someone and own the show together.
Okay.
Yeah. So that would be the like that and neighborhood are the two main businesses right now. And obviously the podcast falls under that one.
You know, you guys are, I mean, you're talent as well, right? I mean,
Yes.
very, very, very much so. And kind of from my own observation, it's tough to be talent and to be on camera and at the same time run a business.
Yep.
Like before I sat down with you guys, I was in like a finance meeting and I was pissed off about something and I had to like shake it off.
Yeah.
And
And
get
smile.
You know what I mean? And smile and be like,
Yeah.
okay, so how are you guys? It's funny. I asked Lewis Howes this question. You know Lewis Howes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
So I asked him
Yeah.
this question. He was on a defunct version of a defunct episode of a podcast that Valeria did when we literally thought we can just do it at like anyways, we just thought it would be easy and we
Okay.
did it. And poor Lewis is there. And we're like, starting to talk to him like, hey, how do you do this? Like, how do you do it when shit goes down and you have to get on a podcast?
Yeah.
And so he just told me, I just, I have a switch in my head and I turn it off. And no matter how bad things are happening on the business side of my business, when it's time for me to be talent. So do you guys agree with that? How hard or easy is it for you to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been. I'll speak for myself because
Yeah.
I know we're a little bit different when it comes to things like that. Yeah, that part's tough. I'm very like
You take it with you into the episode?
I try not to. I'm more like because again, especially with this new business, we're in a learning phase right now,
In
right?
which new business?
With the MBH TV, the network.
Right.
So although we know how to grow our show, now scaling that and working with other talent who now it's not just business, it's like dealing with people, but talent. Like they're not just like regular people. They think they are somebody a lot of the times, right? So you have to learn how to deal with like personalities on top of like, okay, how do we build and scale this? We're learning a lot of lessons. I don't want to say we're wasting money, but we're spending money on things to figure out if things work or they don't, right? So you have all this shit going on. And then it's like, hey, we're coming to Miami. We're filming 9 podcasts in 8 days and operating the business at the same time. So you better figure it out. So I think when you're so passionate about something, and especially when it's very fresh,
Yeah.
you're trying to learn, that for me has been a little bit of a battle because I'm like so dialed in on making sure that this business runs. And as you know, at the beginning phases, it needs you more than ever. So just dialing that in and figuring it out. But Lewis is right. You got to have a switch in your head.
Yeah.
Switch the flip.
It's not easy though.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. And you learn. You also have to learn how to do that too. There's been episodes in the past, I'm sure you could pull them up, where I'm like, people are like, what's wrong with Anthony? And I'm like,
You're having a full on
I'm
anxiety
having a full on thing in my head. Exactly. Oh, dude, there's episodes where we would finish the episode and I'd be like, dude, go to the 30-second minute. And I'm like, look at my face. And I'm like this. Because I'm having I'm going crazy in my mind, right? But you learn. As anything, you learn to kind of channel your energy and your mindset and figuring like, how to flip it on in front of the camera.
I'm very sensitive to it. Like for myself, I just try to like before I get on camera, I try to just I don't know, chill and breathe and just.
Yeah.
But I'm very, very sensitive with my wife. And it's funny because that same thing that was pissing me off in that finance meeting, I called Valeria because I was just pissed off and she's my business partner. So I wanted to talk to her about it. And I'm talking to her about it. And she's like, no, I know. And she's like, can you like kind of fuck off because I'm about to go into a podcast. Like she's hosting her episode with some big celebrity on it. And I'm like, fuck, sorry. Like I didn't know because I should have checked the calendar before I called her to see what she has going on if she's about to walk onto set. Right. So yeah, I mean, I think that's really important. Talk to me about this whole like moving to America thing. This is something. So are you guys able to talk about I know you are because you've talked about Nelk Boys on your own shit, right?
Yeah, of course.
So they were supposed to help you out with immigration. Is this something you talk about?
We actually got it. We actually got our visas.
We got the visas.
Well, you're here, so I'm assuming you got,
We got our
you did
visas
get
with
your
them.
visas with them.
Yeah.
Because I was going to step in there and like, help you guys out. I have a lawyer on speed dial.
Well, we still might need it. We got a visa, but it's reliant on them. We're reliant on them. So when we decided to kind of end the deal, that sort of ended with it.
Okay.
So we're back in that process of kind of trying to figure it out. We're not like totally needing it right this second, but it's definitely in the pipeline for us. But moving to America, and especially with the network now and this new business, on top of like neighborhood, would like our agency will thrive here as well in America. It's a no-brainer for us. Like like we said, Canada is how many years behind, especially when it comes to media and tech and all these things. So moving here is a no-brainer. And then the beauty, and I'm sure you've talked about this, the beauty is like Miami is becoming that place. Creators are moving here by the bunches, like, and we're not just saying creators in general, little like the biggest people are moving here. The Nelk Boys moved here. Aiden Ross moved here.
Yeah.
These are the biggest creators in the world are coming to Miami.
So do you know the building in Brickell? I think it's called Metropolitan or Cosmopolitan. Anyways, there's some big. I'm laughing because I'll tell you a story afterwards. But there's a big like building, like a condo building.
Yeah.
Super luxurious and nice, and it's in Brickell and. You go in there and there's a lot of people with like face tattoos. Wow. So that's kind of the like, and I don't mean that negatively. I mean, it's cool people want to do face tattoos, but I mean, that's kind of the vibe. Yes. Everyone's an artist.
Yeah.
The whole building is artists.
Cool.
And it's like a super luxury building. And downstairs, they have a podcast studio.
Of course.
In a residential condo building.
Genius.
So and it was retrofitted, right?
Yeah.
They didn't originally build that place because before it was all like, people's like rich people's second homes. It's where they come to vacation. And now it's becoming the primary homes of artists at various stages in their career. Some are up and coming, some are at scale. Yeah. And they put a podcast studio. Yeah. They retrofitted a podcast studio as part of the amenities.
So smart.
In this building.
Yeah, it's genius.
So just to your point, Miami is that place. And it's actually the reason why one of the reasons why we moved here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even for your guys' business, it makes America in general, right?
Yeah.
But then you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting warm weather all the time. You're at the beach here.
Maybe
so
not
like
today.
Well, yeah, not
Still
today. It's okay.
Toronto.
Listen, if this is winter, we'll take
Right?
it. We'll take it.
Right.
But you're getting the beach, you're getting the sun all majority of the year, and taxes. I mean, it's a friggin' no-brainer. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Stop. When you say taxes are a no-brainer, I know you guys bought a house here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you looked at your property tax?
Yeah,
bill?
property tax. Listen, they're higher, but from a broader scale, like in Canada and Toronto, you're working half the year for the government.
More than half now.
Yeah. Right. So even if we were paying 10 to 15 to 20% less taxes, no problem, right? Yeah, there's give and take everywhere, but I also find higher property taxes here, but the streets are a lot cleaner. Things like here I find, of course, certain pockets, depends where you are, right? But
I think a lot of that, I don't know if it's an America thing, but I think it's a Miami thing.
It's a Miami thing for sure.
You know what I found about Miami? I don't know if you guys have seen this yet, but I've been talking to cops in Miami, and they're so vigilant. But in Miami, like around here, you guys live like 10, 15 minutes away from here, right? Your place is really close. But like, they're just so vigilant and they care so much. And you feel the police presence. They're everywhere.
They're just parked up in the middle of the road, like all over.
With their lights on, just, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
I like that though.
Yeah. Well, people know not to fuck around in here.
Yeah. Which is why
another thing too.
I love Florida.
Another thing too.
Right.
You can protect yourself here.
Well, that's a whole other discussion.
That's a whole other story, right?
I can neither confirm or deny any of that stuff.
And there's also the aspect of like in Toronto too. There's something what we felt. You really once you kind of lead an industry or get to the top of an industry or a space, you are a big fish in a small pond, right? And here, you know, you're never going to be around someone that's not doing better than you.
It's humbling here, definitely.
It's very humbling,
Yeah.
but that's inspiring to us.
Yeah.
Right. When you're meeting up with people and you talk about all the business they have going on, all the money they've been making, all the moves they've been making, for us that's super inspiring. And we
So-
kind of started losing that in Toronto a little bit. We were like, wait, like,
Yeah.
how many people can we talk to about this?
Right. So but I want to make something clear because
Yeah.
I'm still a Canadian. Like, I mean, I spent my whole life in Canada.
course, of
I
course.
was in Canada between the ages of 3 and 48.
Yes.
So I spent 45 years in Canada. And I can tell you that, like, I know people who have sold their companies for hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes.
You know, I know Canadian billionaires.
Yes.
Well, I know one Canadian billionaire. I know one Canadian billionaire, and I'm an acquaintance with another. One's
Okay.
a friend, and one's an acquaintance.
Okay.
And so there is opportunity up there.
Yes.
So
It depends on the industry. Like our industry that we were in for media and marketing.
Yeah, for media
we
and
felt like
marketing-
we hit the top, and we're like,
There's no.
who else can we compete with? Who else can we
you're right.
collaborate with?
You're right. But for industries like tech, like SaaS,
Of course.
I have a friend who just cashed out. He sold his SaaS company. He did
Look,
extremely
tech is
well.
huge in Canada. Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
They,
So-
people do really well in tech. I think it was more just our industry, right? We were looking at the marketing world, we were looking at the media world, the podcast world, and we felt like we needed more.
You're right.
First of all, competitors and more people to collaborate with.
I think it's a per capita thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah, it
Like
just-
for every one person who sold their company and did really well or has a really like thriving business, there's 100 of them here.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, like you can just like look outside your door. Oh, hey,
Of
what's
course.
up?
Yeah.
Of course.
But I'm curious for you because we've had this experience as well in Miami. Is like we came here and we started grinding and trying to put ourselves out there, and very quickly, people who were bigger than us in our industry were willing to kind of put us on and help us and guide us in the right direction. Whereas like we felt in Toronto, it's constant competition between people. Like I'm seeing people in the same industry who could be helping each other and growing together are like hating on each other for no reason. We came here and collaboration never felt so easy.
Yeah.
I'm curious for you guys actually with Valeria, has it been easier from a collaboration standpoint here?
Yeah, it's been easier, but I think what you're talking about is, I think it's more of a cultural thing.
Okay.
I think America in general is far more capitalistic.
yes.
It's a far more capitalist, and I think that's what it is.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily. I mean, it is the people, but it's more kind of I think the long-term culture. I think it's already kind of a generational thing. I think in America, it's not that. So here it is. It's not that people are like so good-hearted, although they are. But the reason they want to help you out isn't because they're super good-hearted. It's because they feel that they can benefit too.
Yeah,
course.
sure. Which I'm okay
And
with.
That's what it is.
which is great.
So to answer your question, yes, people are more open to us, but I think it's at certain levels, and depending on the industry and the circumstances, it becomes less about like what can you do for me monetarily,
Yeah.
and it's what's the true value exchange.
Yes.
So with the great thing, and I have to say, like our social calendars are full. We're meeting such great people, and when they look at us, they're not thinking, "Oh, what can we get from you? Like, how can we get access to your audiences or
Yeah.
financing?" Or they're not looking at that. They're truly looking at us and saying, "What can we do for you? And what's the exchange?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What information do you have? What information do I have?"
But it's an
And if-
honest, fair exchange.
And it's an honest, fair exchange. Yeah.
right? It's not like
That yes. However, people have their hands in your pockets here like I've never seen.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like people are trying to get money. Have you guys seen your water bill?
Yeah,
What is
they
it?
are through the roof. I take care. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
So do you have a well?
In the back. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I thought
Yeah.
when somebody told me we started getting bills here for like $2,000 a month for water.
Yeah.
For water, $2,000 a month. It's
Yeah.
insanity, right?
Yeah.
I didn't understand what's going on, and I called the water company, and they're like, "Oh, you got to do a sub meter, this and that." What they didn't tell me was that you're a complete idiot if you're using city water for irrigation,
Yeah.
to water your plants,
Oh,
to
you're getting
water the grass in the
yeah,
ground.
yeah.
Oh, so
Right?
you got screwed. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I call my buddy who lives down the street in this neighborhood, and I'm like, "Dude, like, can I see your water bills?" And they're $300 a month.
Yeah.
And I said, "How is it $300 a month and mine's $2,000?" He said, "Was your well broken?" I said, "I'm not a farmer. Why would I have a well? They're like a well like this,
Yeah,
you know?"
yeah.
He's like, "No, bro, it's like a well." The guy came. He referred a guy. He came. He put in a well with an electric thing, and it's like sucking the thing, and it's
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
anyways, my point is that even the city, they could have easily have told me, "Yeah, just go install a well."
Yeah, you're good.
You
yeah.
know, people really have their hands in your pocket.
For sure. But I still think, and again, maybe this is for just maybe it's been our experience. people have been willing to help us. And I know obviously there's value exchange, but even a lot of people who have been bigger than us and don't need our audience or anything have done, I don't want to say
There's a value exchange there
favors.
too.
Well, you know what it is? I think, I'm assuming, I think that they see how hard we're working
Yeah.
and they kind of know where we're headed. So they're like, hey, if I help these guys out now,
Yeah.
when they're at their peak or whatever, at a higher point, they'll be willing to do something for me, which is totally fair.
But even,
Yeah, we're
guys,
cool with that.
and even between us,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
you guys have insights because you're part of a different generation than me. So for me, first of all, I just like hanging out with
Yeah.
you. I've been very public about that with you guys. But like even for me, I can bounce ideas off of you that I won't otherwise, like just nobody's gonna tell me, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
So to have people who are actual friends who have your best interest in mind to be able to do that, and then at the same time, you guys can come to me and ask me about certain things. Because I
course.
probably already had something happen to me 77 different times.
Which I've done that a lot too.
Yeah.
I've called you and asked for your advice on many things.
And so it's that value exchange. So I think culturally in America, people are they're hungrier.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a far more competitive society here than in Canada, right? So I think people need to know what they're getting into when they come here. They think it's all sunshine in
Yeah.
Florida and this and
Yeah.
that.
Well, it's competitive, but
Shit gets real here.
But if
Yeah.
you're a competitor, you're going to love it.
you're
here.
gonna love it.
That's the thing. So if I think that, when people ask about, coming to America, what I basically tell them is like, look, if you like safe, steady, like the whole free medical, if you like all of that, and there's nothing wrong with that because enjoying that kind of stability really does have its value.
Sure.
But if you really want to take a shot, like a real shot, I think the probability of it happening here is higher because again, I go back to saying that I have close friends, like childhood friends who knocked it out of the park,
Yeah.
who are set for generations that did it from Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just more likely, I think, to happen here.
I also think Canada's in a different position today than it was a long time ago, which is a whole, we won't even go into that conversation.
No,
but
look, we can go into that conversation.
Uh-huh.
I typically stay apolitical. I really
Yeah.
respect the fact that you guys do comment politically.
uh,
But look, I think Canada right now has lost its way a little bit,
yes.
and Canada as a whole has lost its way. I think because it didn't fare well during the pandemic, and I think it all
Correct, yeah.
started in early 2020. I think there were some bad decisions. There was some mismanagement by the government.
Mhm.
And when you have a country that's doesn't have that kind of like we'll figure it out, make it, we'll grind through it like America does. That's I think kind of the results of it. But I
Yeah.
think Canada's going to come back very strong,
I hope
very
so.
strong.
I hope so.
I know so.
Mhm.
Because
Okay.
it can't. No, I know so
Okay.
because it can't not. And there's a couple of reasons for it. One is that Canada's always going to be a wealthy country. It's always going to be a wealthy country because the natural resources in Canada are like
Abundant. Yeah.
abundant,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So there's always going to be money flowing through Canada. It's just a question of who's managing things,
Well,
who's running the show.
Yeah, and that's why like again from our end we say a lot of things about Canada, and when we speak about it, I think we're more just speaking about today's Canada, not 5 years ago. Because if you talked to me in 2019, Anthony would have said, Toronto's the best place in the world.
Yeah.
I'm never leaving Canada. This place
You
is
said that
awesome.
many times, yeah.
Everybody wanted to come to Toronto and Canada, and we're on this high, right?
But they
Yeah,
still do.
They still
Statistically,
do.
they still do.
They still do, but for different reasons, I think now. Like but I mean, regardless of that, I agree with you. I think it's just mismanagement at the highest level.
Mhm.
I think if we can get things on track, it's going to take some time to bounce back, but it should bounce back. But
Sorry to interrupt you. Do
Yeah.
you have employees here?
no subcontractors here
So
right now.
I mean, we have employees here,
Yeah.
and we have employees in Canada.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that they're different, but I wouldn't say that our Canadian employees are by any way inferior in any way.
Mhm.
I don't see it. I think Canadians, I mean, look, they're very hard workers. Guys, we know this. Like we grew up in the country.
Of course.
So there's differences. There's definitely differences, but I wouldn't count Canada out. I mean, I certainly don't count Canada out because I consciously made a decision after we moved here that we're keeping all of our staff.
property.
We kept everybody.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
kept
yeah.
everybody, right?
But I think something to note is like, if you see something going on, like for us, we, and you guys too, you made the jump here because it made sense for the business. You wanted to continue growing. And so you made a crazy leap of faith here. And we're basically doing the same thing. And that's kind of the idea, is like, if you want to get to the highest levels in anything, in like your personal well-being, business, whatever, you also can't be afraid to leave your hometown,
You're
the
absolutely
place
right.
that you're so comfortable with, right? And that was another big thing for us. We came here in February 2022. We came here with the idea of we're not leaving till we buy a house. If that takes us 2 months, 6 months, a year, whatever.
Good for you.
Don't listen to us, immigration. But you know what I mean? Like, we will figure it out, and that's what we're going to do. And we're going to just be in an uncomfortable situation, but we'll make it happen. And obviously, you guys did the same thing. You moved here. You didn't really know too much. You probably came to visit a couple times, and you're like, yeah, we're moving here, right? And I think that's kind of the difference of like, you can stay complacent in a place like Canada. It's very easy to feel complacent because it's very stable. But if you want to be great in, like I said, in anything, sometimes you got to get out of your comfort zone and move. I think moving is such a huge step in people's lives, you know, and it can happen at 18 out of the house, 25, 30, 40. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't need to be a time limit where you say, okay, I hit this age, I'm never leaving now.
I think to your point, I think it's important to be within close to opportunities. Within what's the word I'm looking for? Within
proximity.
Proximity. Thank you.
Yes.
Within proximity to opportunities. I think that's really important. I think realistically, I think Los Angeles, for what we do respectively, probably would have been better. I'm not into California. I like it here. Also because we just have a lot more. We had a lot more friends here, and I think I don't even feel like it's like I feel like at home because everybody I know lives here now.
Yeah.
Like everybody.
There's
I
a
know
lot of
moved
Canadians here too.
I have very few friends that stayed in Toronto. Very few. Anybody who could, just like financially, and people who, especially people who didn't have like brick and mortar businesses. Yeah. But even people who have brick and mortar businesses
moved here. Yeah.
They moved here and they go back. You know, they go back once a month for a week, and they do.
But
they do.
I would argue that you're right. LA maybe right in this specific moment would have been more beneficial from a business perspective
in this industry, in entertainment, and
But I truly think Miami will catch up. It's going to take some time, but with the people that are moving here and investing here, I think it's just a matter of time, because I think it's so underdeveloped in comparison to LA, this massive city, or even Toronto. Even from like a real estate and all that perspective, people are moving their money here too.
Real estate's
right?
expensive here.
It is expensive. It is expensive.
But I'm hoping it has room to grow because now I'm here.
I think it has. I think it does. I think it does. But we'll see, nonetheless. But I think we're ahead of our time from the media perspective, and moving here for an opportunity in media. I think we're ahead of our time. I think it's going to grow.
Ernesto, how did you guys? So you guys bought a house together. Mm-hmm. So how did you? I mean, you guys are partners, like for real. You bought a house. You bought like a residential home.
We're like married at this point.
So let me ask you something. So when you guys get married and you have your wives, like how many bedrooms are in this? Is it 4
We
bedrooms?
sleep 12. We sleep 12.
Okay, so you'll have like a room for like
everybody.
like the
even
two couples.
Even you could come.
I'm okay. But because I just come with it's me plus 4. It's
I got you.
It's not just me.
We'll make room.
So you got But what was the plan there? You guys bought this house. Obviously, it's going to be an investment, and I know you guys Airbnb it out.
Yeah. Yes. So the plan was just to make it feasible for us, right? And obviously we weren't making that much crazy money to be able to buy houses individually. And we're already in business with many businesses, so we said, hey, it just makes sense. Let's go 50-50 on a house. We'll put on Airbnb, which we actually didn't for the first year we were living in it.
Yeah.
You remember that, right? Yeah. Finishing the pool and stuff like that. And yeah, like we just have this unspoken agreement between us, and it is spoken as well at this point, that we're just partners in everything we do. So whether that's real estate, whether that's a business, no brainer for us.
I want to talk about a little bit about partnership. I know we kind of touched on it. I've had business partners in the past. I had a business partner who I was with for 15 years.
Wow.
Maybe closer to 20. Wow. And we're still friends, and we actually have a venture. We have a YouTube channel together, which somebody else operates. So we talk from time to time, but we don't operate together anymore. It's not easy. We talked before earlier in the episode about, the mistake that's made, that when you have a friend, you mistake that friendship for an effective business partner. Mm-hmm. How do you find how do you guys overcome disagreements? Like, how do you get back to, because overcoming disagreements, I think that's the key to it. So how do you guys do it?
I mean, we're always in communication with each other, right? There's never a moment where something's happening and we're not talking about it and talking it through. The beautiful thing is usually we're on the same page. If we're not on the same page about something, we kind of got to both step back and first of all, see what the situation is, what exactly we're talking about, because there's a lot of things that he knows much more than me and vice versa, right? And depending on what aspect of the business or the podcast it is, one of us will take a back seat and kind of agree, right? I think that we're also both Italian. So what we do is we're both hard-headed, right? So sometimes
Is that an Italian thing, to be kind of stubborn?
Yeah, definitely.
Especially Southern Italians.
Yes,
Are you
especially
both Southern Italians?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super stubborn.
So sometimes we just have to like have an argument, but like
we
a healthy
battle it
one.
out. We battle it out.
Like nothing where it's like where it's disrespectful to one another. Just kind of like our voices go up, you know. And
Sure.
and we
If someone's listening, they might think it's disrespectful.
yeah, I just wouldn't consider it disrespectful.
Yeah, we
neither
don't
would
care.
you. But listen, I think that there was also a great conversation me and Anthony had at the beginning of our partnership where we understood our roles.
That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing.
We knew where we both stood in the business, right? And at the beginning, I would say I was kind of like more the face of the business, right? Which that actually affected me in my previous partnerships, where there was an animosity towards me because, let's say I had 4 partners, I was the only one actually getting attention, let's say from the outside world, as the owner of that business, right? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So it's like, oh, why is he the face when we're all doing work, right? So again, very silly to think that way because everyone has their role, right? And I think that when he came to me, he was very clear. He's like, listen, you could be the face. I'll do what I need to do. I'll support you for the time being. And obviously now we're both the face, right? So that happened very quickly. But you need to have those hard conversations. There's not much that we don't agree on. And like I said, if there's something we don't agree on, we make sure we sit down and we talk about it. We don't let our friendship get in between it. There's business and there's friendship. And like he said already, we were business friends
Right.
before friends.
Right.
So that helped a lot too. It's
Do you have a-
communicate.
do
You
you-
have to have hard
Do
conversation.
you have a way to resolve conflict? Or you guys just, is it as simple as just talking it out?
No, we battle it out.
We battle it out.
We,
You know, like
we go to war. Like he's being very nice about it.
Yeah.
Like we go to war. Like if
I guess I'm being
and again
nice.
we see eye to eye on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But the other side of it is if there's a decision that he's like we need to do this and I'm not super sold on it, but it's more geared toward what he focuses on in the business, then I put my trust in him and vice versa.
Yes.
But when it's something that's kind of in a gray area where we both play a role in that part of the business, we need to make that tough decision and we don't see eye to eye, we'll have a 3-hour like yelling battle.
Which way is it trending? And what I mean by that is over the last 5 years,
Yeah.
have you been, I don't want to say arguing, but let's call it debating.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been debating less? Are you more aligned, or are you or are you moving towards being more at odds?
It's difficult to say because we have new ventures that happen. So because when a new venture comes, it's like me and him go back to the drawing board from day one again because we're learning a whole new business. So let's say for the network, that's a whole new business. So we're going to have new situations and new debates that we never had before about maybe something new, a new service, a new
But the
way
communication between the two of you. I'm talking about the relationship between the two of you.
I think we debate more because we have more decisions to make at this point. But I think they're also healthier and it's better that we're actually having those debates. Whereas in the past, maybe
Did you feel more animosity in the past? Are you moving towards? Are you trending to more animosity or less?
no
animosity?
less animosity. I mean,
Right. I don't think we ever
I don't
had-
even think we ever
There
had
was
it.
there has never been a we'll call them debate
Yeah.
that as soon as it was over that we didn't want to talk for days or we've never had that.
Yeah.
Everything gets dealt with in the conversation. It's funny. It's a funny story. We were in Tulum for a month prepping for the new
I was
year.
about to ask, what the fuck's going on with Tulum?
No, we
Yeah.
just went
You
there to
guys-
just go
So we
reset
go
and
there.
get
We
the
go there.
sun.
We go there usually at the end of every year to like get prepped for the next year, right?
Yeah.
Business wise, and just get our minds right. It's a very like all distractions gone, and so we sit there and we kind of go off for like a month. So we went there for a month, and we actually brought one of our friends and a business partner along with us. And there was we were having like one of our heated debates, quote unquote, about something about the business and a direction that we should take it. I had one opinion, he had another opinion, and they slowly like the levels of voice slowly goes up.
Yeah.
And our buddy walks in and he sees us like we're Italian, hands flying everywhere. And like, listen,
I'm like, what are
and-
you, stupid?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
I
We
was-
say things like, man, are you fucking stupid? Like, think about it, da da da, whatever. But and we're saying that to each other. He walks in, he's like, holy shit, like, what's going on? And leaves. And this goes on for maybe 2 hours because we're trying to get to the best decision for the business. And as soon as we get there, we start laughing, we're hanging out. He comes back in, he's like, dude, what? You guys okay? Like, I just seen you guys yelling at each other, and now you're laughing together. Like, what the hell? And I'm like, that's not yelling. That's just being Italian and passionate. And
we also know each other's limits too. Like,
no,
like
there's always a limit.
We also know how we can talk to one another, right? Because
Sure.
we've spent so much time together.
There's no emotion. Like, if I say, man, are you fucking stupid? Or he's saying the same thing to me, it's like, I'm not offended by that.
Yeah.
Because he's just trying to argue his point. And the way that I
By
see
calling
it,
you stupid.
yeah, but it's okay. Listen, this is, again, we're two schmucks. You have to look at it. We don't have like, we're
No, I
those
get it.
guys. I think the idea is, the way that I always look at it, and I'm sure you see it the same way, is like, if he's getting that emotional about it and I'm getting that emotional about it, it's because we both care that much. So I actually only want to do business with people that care that much. Maybe he's not the best at explaining himself, and he may say things like, are you fucking stupid, or vice versa. But I don't take it to heart because I know he doesn't actually mean it. It's just, that's his emotions and how much he cares about this one decision.
If you weren't arguing as much as you were, you'd actually be getting far less done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know,
Yes.
the way I see it is, it's you have two people with differing views, and it's the resolution, right, of those differing views, right? It's bringing those differing views, like, you know, putting them head to head, and getting through them. That's where you reach the optimal scenario.
Yes.
Exactly.
And I have those kind of debates internally between myself and Valeria and Rachel, our
course.
CEO, and, you know, resolving that's actually gets it. You know, it's almost like going to the gym. Like, if it doesn't hurt, you're not
Yeah,
really.
there you
It's
go.
not really. You're not
Exactly.
accomplishing anything. So
There you go.
I'm a big believer in.
You need those.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in
But
those.
for us, I'd say, like, if I were to, not to get too technical to like what we do for the business, but
Yeah.
from like a higher level, like, this guy is like the engine. Like, he creates the processes. He builds out like the charts and how the employees and how they're gonna work in between each other and stuff like that. And I'll come in and I'll give my input, and he'll always ask for my input, and I'll say, maybe we try this, maybe we try that, whatever. But I really let him lead that side of the business. Me, I handle more of like the legal, the accounting. I take care of that stuff. It's boring. But then I'm more of the creative and I like to say like the visionary. I'm like, dude, this is where we can take the business next. And he's always trusted me with that. Like, it's always been like, dude, if that's where you think this is going to go and that's the best way, let's do it. I'll start building the systems out tomorrow. You know what I mean? Or today or whatever.
Yeah, you need
and so it's like, we just, the heated debates happen less and less over big decisions because we're just trusting each other.
Where are you taking this next? I mean, is it right now? You've got the three ventures, right? You've
Yeah.
got the agency, which is MBH TV.
Yep.
The talent agency.
Yep.
You've got Neighborhood.
Yep.
You've got MBH Podcast. Those
Yep.
are the three things.
Yep.
Is right now the idea is to scale on those three fronts.
Yeah, so what we're pretty much want to bring everything to America. We're in the middle of bringing Neighborhood here, like, officially. Like, we have, obviously, we have clients. We work with you, work with a couple other people, but we really want to make our mark here. So that's going to be our big play for 2024 when it comes to Neighborhood. We're considering a rebrand for it to come to America because our spelling is Canadian.
I was about to
Neighborhood,
say,
yeah.
Neighborhood is spelled in the Canadian form, so we're considering a rebrand. Those are all things in the back end, but that's a big play. And then the agency, the MBH TV, our network and the talent agency within that, that's our big play.
And the plan is for you guys to move here permanently. The two of you to move here permanently.
Yeah.
Because Natasha's here.
She's already lives here,
Yeah.
which makes the neighborhood side of things very simple and a lot easier for us. But our play is to move here officially and take it to the next level, because the way that we see it from the network perspective is the online world is only getting bigger. All these shows are all great. They all have their own revenue streams and all that stuff. But if any product, any business wants to advertise, they're looking at these networks more than ever. I look at Dave Portnoy and Barstool and what he did there.
You know, I met him.
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah, but
Unreal.
did I tell you how I met him?
No.
It's a funny story how I met him.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't.
No.
mean to, like, interrupt the flow.
Anyways, we want to emulate what he did
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Barstool
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but his is a right. I see. His is a media property that, it's a bit of a different model that I
Yeah.
think than what you're talking about because he would create like all of these long form and short form pieces of content, but it wasn't. Is it talent based?
Now it is.
Now it is.
Now it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, so not what it was, but what it's turned into. But that's also because he brought smart people in. When they started making some money, he brought a proper CEO in, and that's our plan, is to get to that point and be able to bring some other heads in.
Yeah.
And it's our first time ever taking money. like bringing an investor in, which was weird for us, raising some capital. That
This
was different
for
for MBH
the
TV,
network.
the
Right.
network. So that was our first time doing that. So, and we have a lot of people that believe in us now, which is cool. We have a lot of people who want to invest. We're being very,
sure.
picky with it because this I think for us, when we said, okay, we officially said we're going to do MBH TV and build this network, we were like, yeah, this is our $1 billion play.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's kind of our vision.
Okay. All right. You want to know how I met David?
I
Portnoy?
do
Let's
want to
hear
know.
it.
Yeah.
So I was before we moved here, we were renting on Palm Island.
Yes.
Right. It's down that
I
way.
remember
Yeah.
you were there too.
Yeah. So we were renting on Palm Island, and I'm outside, and my kids would play, on Palm Island with the neighborhood kids, and I was standing with my next door neighbor, who's a dentist. Right. Not that it's not relevant, but I'm just saying that's how he's the dentist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's standing there, and he's got this little French bulldog. Is that what those little? With the,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
And he's hanging out with this bulldog, and all of a sudden, this huge pit bull runs out of nowhere and starts eating this little French
No.
bulldog. Yeah, he just starts like devouring him. Like I've never seen a
Stop.
dog trying to eat another dog. It's
Oh
like
my
it's
Okay.
crazy. And he's like starts eating this dog, and I'm standing there. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Like I'm scared. My kids are over here. This guy's trying to like save his dog from getting eaten. This pit bull's losing his mind. He's like viciously attacking him, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then all of a sudden, David Portnoy comes running over. He's just
No
out of the
way.
blue. Yeah, he just
No
comes
way.
running out of the blue, and he's grabbing his dog, and he was super. He's like, dude, guys, I'm so sorry. Like he was cool about it. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't like, fuck you and your dog. No,
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
like, I'm so sorry. This
Yeah.
is like, it's my fault. I'm so sorry. He's grabbing his pit bull. I'm looking at him. I'm like, you're David Portnoy.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, I am. And I'm like, dude, like you got to control your dog. He's like, nah, I know.
That's what you told him.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what else to say to him. I'm like, because I was traumatized. Like,
Yeah,
like half the dog's eaten. There's only half a dog left.
Oh my
So it's
God.
crazy. Yeah, that's how I met him.
But like regular dude, that's what I love. I
Yeah.
love he built this massive corp,
Yeah.
and he's just the most regular guy.
Yeah.
And that's for me. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so. That's the
He
vision.
lives 5 minutes that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Amazing. So
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. no,
Gotta
he's
get
a
him
very
on one
cool
day.
guy.
You gotta get him on one day.
Yeah.
You say, hey, remember when you ate that dog?
That would be,
I
you know
saw
what?
it.
That
Sit
might be the
down.
hook.
Yeah.
Right? That might be the hook. That might be the hook. I'm still working on this whole like, guest thing. You know who I had? It was actually going up on Monday. I had Brad Lee.
Yeah.
Huge,
I saw.
massive.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super. I just DM'd him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Super nice
Was
guy.
it a good conversation?
Yeah. I
Yeah?
felt like I was a little rusty. I feel like the less time, the more time in between when I
Yeah.
do this, the more
Yes.
the kind of rustier I get.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
Yeah.
I feel that, when creating content like this, it comes out better than I thought it was
Always.
at the time that I'm
Yes.
filming it.
Every time.
You watch it back, you're like, oh damn, that was good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That
yeah.
was good.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's pretty
Normal.
good.
It's normal.
But I mean, we're still really focused on Valeria's stuff.
Of course.
That's
yeah,
just
of
like
course.
our number one thing, and then some other stuff that we'll talk about. So I told you we're gonna mess you up.
You
Yeah.
said it in a different way, actually.
I said I was gonna fuck you up because I got the cold plunge going.
Yes,
People who watch my
yes.
content know that I'm really into that. So I have the
Yeah.
cold plunge and I have the sauna in the back,
Yeah.
and I have it down to 40 degrees
Nice.
Fahrenheit,
Let's go.
which is 4 degrees Celsius, right? But no offense, that's for girls. That's, No offense. But no, I'm joking. I'm not. I mean, it's for everybody.
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I had it at 50 degrees, and then Valeria was using it, and she was like, it was challenging her with her 50. I took it down to 40, which is the lowest that contraption will do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I took it down to 40, and she's like, it's too much. I can't do it. She tried it once. She lasted 10 seconds. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. It's crazy. Like it's inhumane. I'm like, no, just trust me. Just do this.
Yeah.
And so I got her doing it now, and now like 40 to her, it's like nothing. She'll
Yeah.
sit in there for 5 minutes. She comes out. She's like
Wow.
doing great.
Yeah.
And so then the last time I had a couple here, like a few weeks ago, and we did 40 a couple of times, and then I went on Uber Eats and I got bags of ice. And
There
so I
we
delivered
go.
bags of ice. I started putting bags of ice in, and everyone, all three of those, like Valeria and the couple, they're like, I'm not doing it. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I'm not doing it. Like it's too much. And I tried it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Because after you've been in it a few times, going in and out of the sauna, it just feels incredible. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's a rush. You're high, And I did it, and then they all did it, and now Valeria's like every day she's like, you getting the ice? You getting the ice? I'm actually looking into an ice maker.
Wow.
Come
Because it's like
on.
$50 every
Yeah,
time I
yeah,
order
yeah,
ice,
yeah.
right?
True.
So am I going to buy an ice maker?
Yeah.
But I don't know where to put it. I need an outdoor ice maker. It's this whole thing. Anyways, guys, look, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate
Appreciate
it.
you
Thanks for
having
having
us,
us.
man.
Yeah.
I'm
thank
happy that you guys are in Miami now for a bit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And
I'm not leaving.
Okay, all right.
I'm
All
not
right.
leaving.
All right, don't leave. Guys, thanks a lot. And let's go
course.
do this cold plunge thing, okay?
Let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it. Let's do
Appreciate
it.
it.